Hi, I'm Laura Clark, coming to you from Jerry's Music Shop, and let's talk a little bit about fingerings. If you're in elementary school, you may be on a single horn. That means the horn has one set of valve slides, and instead of a thumb valve, like my horn, it has a ring to put your finger in, and probably another ring to put your pinky in. If money were no object, I would be delighted to see every horn player start on a double horn. It will improve the accuracy, it will help them to transition from the low register to the high register, but I understand some elementary schools will only have single horns because frankly they are cheaper. It's not that they're actually any smaller, except for a couple companies that make a compact horn. The size around of a single horn here is the same as the size around of the double horn. And I was not a particularly large elementary school student, and I started on a double horn. So the only advantage is a monetary savings. So on the single horn, it's pretty easy to figure out the fingerings if you look at the horn and think a little bit about the acoustics. When I'm blowing an open note, let's take a third space C. If I add the shortest amount of tubing that I have available, that's the second valve, the middle valve. And that adds a half step. So C becomes B, a half step lower. If I look down, I can see, well, the first valve looks maybe twice as long as that second valve. So in fact, that adds a whole step. C to B flat. If I want to go another half step down, I'm going to add either another half step by putting down my second along with my first, or in fact, the third valve slide is a step and a half by itself. So that would be C, B, B flat, A. In the States, we tend to use 1 and 2 for A's and D's when you're on your thumb valve, but there are places that use third valve as the standard for A. And depending on how you tune the horn, that may be a little flatter, your 1 and 2 may be a little sharper, so as with all intonation, your ear is actually going to make the fine tuning. We've got all of those notes going down, and you'll see a chart that I've posted on the site here. I've circled in each case what fingerings I recommend. If you're on a single F horn, you'll need to use the F horn fingerings. The only really questionable note, the arguable note for fingering on that single F horn is the D above third space C. That's third space C. C, D, and E are all available open. Some people like to finger it open. Sound is nice, the pitch is good. Some people like to put a first valve on that D. It tends to be a little bit flat, but could be used for facilitating a slur, as opposed to just using your lip. So either is a possible fingering on the F horn for that fourth line D. Now, if you're on a double horn, which I hope you will be by middle school or high school, there are lots of thoughts about where you should combine the F side and the B flat side of the horn, or the no thumb and the thumb side. Hopefully you'll learn all the fingerings on both sides of the horn, but in the beginning, I like to give a starting place. The fingerings from G sharp, second line, up through the third space C are the same, whether you have the thumb down or don't have. So, was without the thumb, and after the G, and with the thumb, are all the same fingerings. So you could switch anywhere along that path. Some teachers like to say switch one exact place, either at the G sharp, before the C, after the C. I find it easiest to give my students some direction and say, for now, as a starting place, switch at the G sharp and use thumb from there on up. In any given passage, we might find a reason, if you're just going from G to A and back down again, not a little more refined if I hear something that needs fixing. It's obvious that the thumb valve is helpful for accuracy in the upper register. It's a shorter horn, so it'll make the high notes a little easier. But without the thumb, C, D, E are all the same fingering, and C and that false B flat are the same fingering. So I could slightly miscalculate and get the wrong note. If I have the thumb down, the notes next to that C on either side are further away. So I'd have to miscalculate by a larger amount to miss the note. That's certainly an advantage for a young horn player to have that added security. You'd think, well, it's a shorter horn, so I want to use it in the upper register. But it turns out the B-flat horn is also very useful in the low register. If you think about tonguing on a trumpet, say, as compared to tonguing on a tuba, you'll realize immediately that the tonguing response is quicker on the trumpet than it is on the longer instrument, the tuba. So we get down into lower register of the horn, the thumb valve can be quite useful. So going down from middle C, there's my G, there's my F sharp. That next F could be first valve, but it can also be thumb and open. If you're not careful, that thumb and open will be a little bit sharp and maybe a little hollow. So again, you use your ears to make it the sound you want. You have to be putting out sounds that your ear is asking for and responding if you don't hear what you want. So going down from F, that thumb and open, F, E, second valve, E flat, first valve, D, 1 and 2, D flat or C sharp, 2 and 3, and then back to everything open for low C. Now, the horn has lots of low notes. So we've still got a ways to go, but at least getting you down to low C, you've got a combination that will help the notes to pop out a little bit easier. You'll see these suggestions on the chart that's posted here. I've circled, if you're on a double horn, I've circled which notes you might want to use on the F horn, which notes you might want to use on the B flat horn. Remembering that you have a choice. There are teachers certainly who will play down below the low G, staying on the F side of the horn. But one of the problems there is that 1 and 3 is a long fingering. The long fingerings tend to be sharp. The D flat next to it is even sharper. So if we've gone to the thumb valve, that D is a 1 and 2, the D flat is a 2 and 3. We don't use the thumb valve low C, 1 and 3, because again, it's a long fingering. We're avoiding that. And with double horn, we can go to everything open for low C and on down until you get to the pedal F. So have a look at the fingering chart. It's a starting place. There'll be lots of opportunities for negotiating the fingerings, altering the fingerings for a particular passage to make something better in tune or have a tone color that you like. But it's a good starting point.